What's going on, everybody? If you're like me, you have children or a child, and you're wondering how this school year might play out, if there will even be a school year. And I want to really address this. I know I brought this up a few months ago and talked a little bit about it, but I really want to delve into some of the things, especially here in New York where I live. It's just outrageous. But New York is kind of the example that the rest of the country is going to follow, right? It started in New York. New York was the epicenter. And then it's popping up all over the place, the good old whack-a-mole that we talk about. But anyways, I want to really start off with this, and then we're going to go through a couple of things. I think you guys will see exactly where I'm going with it. So, yeah, let's watch.
Good evening. We have seen a lot of confusing and sometimes conflicting information regarding COVID-19 and how officials at all levels are trying to cope with the pandemic. Now, some recent comments by Governor Cuomo on schools and testing have superintendents scratching their heads and some wondering if something else is going on. Tonight, Channel 2's Ron Plants is holding people in power accountable.
So once again, here's the original comment from Governor Cuomo on Saturday morning, the day after deadline day for school reopening plans.
How are you going to test the students? How many are you going to test?
And then yesterday, before mentioning testing, he talked how reopening plans are indecipherable and that we should be having conversations with our parents and teachers, which we have been. I don't know why testing has come up all of a sudden. When everything in the Department of Health plans, guidelines, and SED's guidelines state pretty clearly districts are not to be doing testing. We're not medical professionals.
They want the kids to get used to this invasiveness, this invasive technocracy, this out of control cabal that is going to do what they will. Now, not only that, guys, not only are your children, if they go back to school, and believe me, there will be off and on periods that your children go back. Many schools will reopen sometime in September, but only to shut down again. But you had better believe, prior to shutting down, they're going to have all sorts of propaganda, brainwashing material, and they're going to be subject to the most cruel, unbelievable guidelines and restrictions, and what they can and can't do is just so over the top. And I probably don't even have it all yet. I'm sure there's even more. And that's going to take us up till, well, I would guess like 11/9, right? November 9th, when civil war breaks out officially, or they officially declare martial law. Yeah, that's my prediction. Not much. I don't normally do that, but we'll see how many days off I am. Anyways, this is the type of thing that we have the choice, right? Like, yeah, we should. Our kids need an education, but they're not really getting an education anymore anyway. But to keep them home, right? And then that's what Como and the whole plan is this remote learning. But there's so many things that go into play with it. Like, okay, remote learning's fine, but what if you're poor and you don't have the internet? Or what if you have 4 children and they're all different ages? Like, are they all is the school going to supply each one with a laptop? Or what is going to happen? And now, stick with me to the end of this, because as we go through this, there is going to be so much evidence. In fact, I would kind of nudge more towards the proof aspect of it. Proof that they have been planning this, and of course they have, right? But there's a lot of people that are kind of just waking up to this, and it's hard for them to really grasp that a bunch of billionaires could conspire behind closed doors to hijack certain systems, global systems such as the healthcare system, and basically do what they're doing now, right? Jacking up the numbers, doing all sorts of things. The media, right? The propaganda arm is just out of control. I'm going to play a little bit more.
And got this afternoon from the governor's office. Districts must have a plan in place for testing related to symptomatic or exposed individuals, whether in school or through the local health department. That includes timely delivery of results and any ensuing testing of additional individuals. Additionally, any positive cases must be tracked through established contact tracing protocols and in coordination with the local health department. DOH guidance allows districts to implement additional testing protocols.
Are you kidding me? You're going to contact trace school children? Well, yes, because this is the new normal, right? This is the decade of vaccines. This is the calling of the human species. This is the time, like, oh man, we really better get it together, and we better do everything we can to reach as many, and every last single person that we can try to. It's not about, well, they don't really agree with me, and they're probably talking, like, who cares at this point? It's all or nothing. Sorry, I'm a little frustrated because this is drawing real close. It's not even just the school thing. It's this whole nightmarish, draconian takeover of everything, right? Everything. They want to show you just how much control they have over you. Now they're talking about goggles, right? Oh, well, they got, and what that's really about is they want to see how many people they really have under their thumb. That they have absolute total domination, 100% control of. The people that are going to start putting on glasses, wearing the face shields with the mask. Those are the people that they know if they ever need to have certain people manning facilities, re-education centers, right? Because what's going to happen to these children that don't get an education? Well, don't worry. I got some United Nations information that we're going to get into. But I can assure you, they're going to need re-education. They plan on we heard it, right? During the first wave, and then guys, the second is going to be so much worse with what they do. And like I've said, they have the ammunition that they're going to need because people get the flu. Hospitals fill up in October, November. Late September, they fill up. They didn't have that, right? People were going to all these hospitals, film your hospital. And what happened? They were empty. Not this time. And people are going to be getting sick. People really do die from the flu. They are going to turn this into a nightmare. Well, I mean, not that it isn't already, but something that we can't even really grasp quite yet. Unbelievable.
Well, the perplexing part of this is we are educators. We are oathed to educate children in a safe and orderly way. And these requirements push us to become testers, tracers, doctors, interpreters, and that's not what we're equipped for.
And there's an opinion
Look at that.
now that with these comments,
Guys, your kid is going to be trained and taught that people in general, are infectious or could be carrying COVID, and be very wary. This is the breakdown of society. This is the breakdown of all societal norms. What they are doing is worse than war crimes. Like these people need to be held accountable. Every single one of them. I don't care the measures. I really don't. I can't go on with it. I gotta switch it, guys. I got some other things to go through anyway. So many of you might remember, right? This Reimagine New York, right? Andrew Cuomo, Bill Gates. And Bill Gates has had such a successful track record dealing with the education systems. Just go back and look. You'll see. Oh my God, you will see. But he wants to have his hand at it one more time, and he's doing it with Andrew Cuomo, right? The complete sellout piece of shit that he is. Alongside Eric Schmidt, Bill Gates, Andrew Cuomo. Reimagining New York. Now, it's not just New York, like I said, guys. This is kind of just an introduction to what is coming to every other state. Many of you are already seeing these measures, and some are actually even ahead. But this New York is kind of the epicenter of it, and this is where they're going to really make these headlines happen. New York Democratic governor enlists tech billionaires to push distance learning. Now, guys, like I said, the kids are going to go back to school in many counties, right? Many counties. And as they're going to use that, there's going to, oh my God, could you imagine what the media is going to do, right? They're going to be like, oh, they're putting all these teachers at risk. There's going to be stories about how this teacher got sick, she died, he died. Or the kids got sick, they died. The kids gave it to the teacher, they came home, gave it to a loved one, a grand or a mother or they died. We need to, and then there's going to be of course, it's a liberal leftist media, so they're going to keep saying, well, Trump, why doesn't he do a complete lockdown? There's going to be so much pressure to, and they'll probably have enough people backing it at that point, because they're going to be scared. They're actually going to see people getting sick. They might get sick themselves. You might get sick yourself. But will it be COVID or will it be the flu? But everybody that's not thinking like this is going to just assume that they have COVID, and they're going to be in panic. They're not going to want their kids to go. They're going to be demanding that they stay home. Not to mention the kind of ridiculous setup, the social distancing, the kids wearing masks, possibly goggles, face masks, with like making them out to be like they're some type of leper. Is this acceptable? Are we going to allow this? I don't think so. I think we've had enough. I've had enough. I don't know if you're with me or not, but I am done with it. In a move that will accelerate the privatization of education, Democratic New York Governor Andrew Cuomo announced Reimagine Education, a new partnership with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which will also include Eric Schmidt, one of the founders of Google. The new endeavor announced last week is intended to utilize the crisis, right? Problem, reaction, solution, the Hegelian dialectic, to create the crisis. They already have the solution. Right? That's the solution's like the first thing. They're like, how do we completely, without wasting any more time with these psyops, these false flags, how do we completely take over, formulate this government, right? Because borders and all this and that, and people, no, it's all, they want to take it all over. How do we do it? Well, we tried this, we tried that. Back in 1918, well, we tried this thing and it worked pretty good. Let's try it again. And then they gave it a lot of thought, right? All lockstep, Rockefeller Foundation's lockstep, kind of plays it by ear. And then we see Event 201. If that wasn't enough, tell us exactly what's coming. Exactly what's coming. And if you haven't yet, set aside like 5 hours and just watch the damn thing. If there was any doubt, right? Oh, well, they were so worried about this specific coronavirus pandemic that they actually in October had a simulation that just really kind of is every single thing that even where the damn thing started. Oh, just a coincidence. Coincidence after coincidence after coincidence. Give me a break. The new endeavor announced last week is intended to utilize the crisis created by the COVID-19 pandemic to vastly expand virtual learning for the 4.2 million public school students in the state. This initiative will place significant control of public education in the hands of Bill Gates. What do you think they're going to be teaching in these schools when they're reimagined? Because guess what, guys? They're going to be out most of the year. Your children will be out of school most of the year. But by the time they go back, they're going to be reimagined. They're going to have new curriculum. They're going to have these new measures in place where everyone's a leper, and we have to do all of these unbelievable mandates. Have tons of restrictions and guidelines and rules. Oh yeah, they're gonna have things up on the board for the children. Move your star back 3, Jimmy. You didn't social distance. Oh, you gotta stay for detention. I seen you shaking another man's hand. Oh my, could you imagine what's going to happen? And people are, how could anybody be on board with this? Oh my God. Please, somebody. Since the start of the pandemic, many of New York's K-12 students have been attending virtual classes with their teachers. This form of education, necessitated by the closing of schools on March 18th to prevent the spread of the coronavirus, is widely viewed as a stopgap measure to prevent students from falling too far behind in their education. Like I said, because they're going to be off most of the year. And when they go back, re-education, right? They're going to, maybe they'll have special centers. Because guess what, guys? That's part of what's going on. That's the reason the National Defense Authorization Act of 2012 included all of that nonsense that it did about re-education centers, about putting people in work brigades, about indefinite detention. It's all coming right now. We were right all along, but it's not a time to say I told you so. It's a time to get everybody prepared and do what we can to resist and wake as many people up as possible. Because if not, well then I will see you at the gulags, my friend. And I'm not trying to be doom and gloom, but I keep hearing, oh well, you should have fear-mongered. Well, guess what? This is the time to do it. If there ever was one, now is the alarm bells. They are ringing. It's not like, well, it's not so. Guess what? It is as bad as it gets, and if we continue to let it go, there will be no turning back ever. Ever. Referring to Bill Gates, the billionaire founder of Microsoft, as a visionary and suggesting that we now have a moment in history where we can actually incorporate Gates' ideas on education, the governor told a press conference, we've all been talking about tele-education, virtual education, remote education, and there is a lot that can be done. The old model of everybody goes and sits in a classroom and the teacher is in front of the classroom, excuse me, and teaches that class. And you do that all across the city, all across the state, all these buildings, all these physical classrooms. Why? With all the technology you have? Well, maybe it's because some of the reasons that I previously mentioned. Maybe it's because not everybody has internet in these lower income neighborhoods. Well, that's just a reason to take your children, right? Well, if you can't educate them, listen, we're going through a pandemic. It's necessary. Do you think that's outrageous for me to say that? Do you think that's not a possibility? Could you imagine 7 months ago? If I told you everything that's going on now, if I told you you're going to have to wear a mask around everywhere you go, you're going to have to distance everything, yourself from everybody 6 feet, no going near them. You may be fined, right? You could get a ticket. You can't be in large groups. They're going to close all bars. They're going to close most stores. They're going to wipe out the middle class and their small businesses. And there's going to be numerous riots. Would you believe any of it? So just follow the trajectory. See where this draconianness is actually taking us. And I think it's really not so far-fetched. It's going to happen. And Bill Gates, right? His education. It's what he's going to be teaching. Not himself, but it's what he feels. Right? The eugenicist himself that wants nothing more than to depopulate, and the people that are left are completely roboticized. Oh, man. The effectiveness or ineffectiveness of remote learning from a teacher by an online platform such as Zoom or Microsoft Teams cannot yet be fully assessed, but it is already clear that it is not an adequate replacement for personal face-to-face interactions with students. Think? Distance learning under conditions of the pandemic has been an enormous... You know what, guys? It's time to go on to the next. Time to go on to the next. COVID-19 effect on students, a catastrophe, may hurt decades of progress. I want to ask you something. How could, right, if this was only going to last for, I don't know, maybe 2 years, 3 years, like they've been saying, oh, well, might coming back, could be like 3 years. If it was going to last that long, decades, not decade, decades of progress. This is from the United Nations. This is from the people that are doing this. So, do you think they're wrong? That's like I told you about the credibility issue. Some of these things that Fauci says about the second wave, it's coming because guess what? They need as much credibility as they can get. They can't afford to be wrong. And guess what? They're not going to be wrong because it's their pandemic. So when they say things like that, looking like, oh, they're so intelligent, and it happens, and then we're seeing like, oh, well, hey, it may hurt decades of progress. Just like we've seen them ahead of time talking about, well, COVID-19 could double the amount of starving children, starving people, the number of deaths by starvation. And guess what that number is? Well, it's a hell of a lot higher than the original projected number of deaths by COVID-19. Now, they were aware of that, right? They were aware of all of these measures of locking down, and now they figured out how many people could possibly die just from starvation. Not mentioning suicides and then all the other things like domestic abuse and the things that are shooting through the roof, crime in the cities, and well, that's a whole other video in itself. But just the starvation. And then they have the numbers, and it's like 30 extra million people at the least. But what was the number, right? So, come on. Come on. Well, it's time we come into the house. The homes, right? Coming to the homes. Because that's what they're going to be coming, guys. And Operation Warp Speed, everything, it's all coming our way. So I hope you're prepared. And like I said, as if we, there's not much, but there still is hope. And that hope is literally sharing this video. Sharing is not just this video, but as many other videos that actually might have a chance of reaching people and seeing the dire situation we are in. Now, even if we were really in a pandemic and people were, right, because, I really haven't seen anybody sick from COVID. Nobody really, but even if those numbers were true, it's, according to their numbers, like the flu. I'm being serious. These are their numbers. This is their fact. So, because of another flu, are we willing to subject our kids to the atrocity, to the unrelenting just violations and intrusiveness that they're going to have to go through on a daily basis, not to mention ourselves, going to the store, doing all these measures, while our freedoms and everything is going to be taken from us. And we're going to have to take vaccines that we know are extremely risky. Without all the research I'm talking about that we've done with Charles Lieber and with Bill Gates funding and Robert Linger, Moderna, all of that, forget it. We're just going on what even if it was true, all the propaganda that they spit. Even if it was true, for another flu, are we willing to, from here on out, allow the governments, people in charge? Because even if you trust the one in charge, I don't know why you would, but if you do, who's to say the next one is going to be just as trustworthy? And maybe they want to inject you with this now, inject you with that. For another flu, lose all your rights, traumatize your children. Think about all of this. Don't be so eager to just slap that mask on, baby goggles and a face mask next, and just go about your, oh, sorry, you gotta go walk this way down the aisle. You can't walk the other way because you'll be shamed. Oh, well, you know, come on. For anybody still doing that, for anybody telling anybody that they're not wearing a mask, they should be ashamed of themselves. You're not protecting anything. The science is settled on that. I don't know why they even try to pretend that. Listen, look it up yourself. The size of a viral body is so much smaller than that of a smoke particle. You can blow smoke so, like, take a puff of a cigarette maybe, or a cigar, joint, whatever. Blow it through the mask. All of it goes through. And something that's way smaller than that, all of a sudden it's supposed to get... No, it's a joke. It's a psychological measure for a number of reasons. Actually, it serves multiple purposes, and we've gone over that in my mask video. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you check it out because it's rather interesting. Some of the things that go along with it, they know what they're doing. These are brilliant, psychotic people that are behind this. This came on top of more than 250 million children already being out of school before the pandemic, and only a quarter of secondary school students in developing countries leaving with basic skills, he said in a video statement. Now we face a generational catastrophe that could waste So are we willing to, for another flu, like I said, even going by their number, if everything they said was true, and this was, are we willing to ruin generations of students? Come on, for another flu, right? Because that's where we're at. The death, it's all the same. It's all there. By their numbers, not mine. I'm not, they're the ones. Oh, but it's going to get way jacked up comes second wave. Oh my goodness. Wait till you see what they're going to pull out. Now we face a generational catastrophe that could waste untold human potential, undermine decades of progress. No, don't worry. They'll have re-education centers to help you, and exasperate entrenched inequalities, said Guterres, one of the most evil people on this planet. Once local transmission of COVID-19 is under control, getting students back into schools and learning institutions as safely as possible must be a top priority, he said. Consultation with parents, carers, teachers, and young people is fundamental. Educationist at Pharma University Grants Commission, the UGC member Dr. Inder Mohan Kapathi said COVID-19 pandemic has caused an unprecedented existential crisis, in the whole world, particularly in the developing nations. And, well, we know that story. Let's go on to the next. More from the United Nations. Kind of the same thing, but I thought some of the wording on this one was a little bit better, but I'm not going to waste my time with an ad, so. UN chief warns world faces generational catastrophe, right? We just went through it. Because so many schools have been closed. Not that long, right? Guys, it messes a child up if they don't get their education, but they've only really missed a couple of months before summer vacation. Here, in other countries, their summer's different, so maybe they missed more months, but at the most a year, right? Why are they talking generations for a year? Just repeat the grade, right? Oh my God, yeah, you had to go an extra year, but that's not what it is, right? They don't plan on letting this go. This is the new norm, guys. And on top of this, they're going to have all of these catastrophes, like this new hurricane season that's about to hit. Oh, wait for that one. It's coming. And everything is going to be amplified, and they're going to have this CV-19 hanging over our heads as a force multiplier the entire time. using it mainly to bring about this new world, this one world order, this unbelievably evil, tyrannical dictatorship that has complete control over every facet of your life. You know what? Skipping it. Just an example, guys. There's all over the country. I just chose one. I chose a couple. They're all doing it. All over. It's going to be remote learning, and listen, they're going, after this, you know what this next set of headlines is going to be in a future video a couple of months from now? It's going to be about how they're saying, yeah, you know, this remote learning, because they know it's not going to work. They want people to be frustrated and saying, well, how do I leave my kids at home when I have to work? They know it's not possible. So they know. They're going to say, hey, guys, we got the solution. We can go back to school because but hey, you got to have a vaccine, and you got to have something that says you had your vaccine. Maybe a little quantum dot tattoo, right? That you can just shine under this nice pretty light on your way into the school, on your way into the shopping market, on your way into the theater, on your way into wherever it is in the future where you want to go. As long as you've had your latest inoculations, as long as you've been injected with whatever concoction that they feel you should have, then you can buy and sell. Boulder Valley School District's back to school plan now completely remote. Like I said, after analyzing the data, we do not feel confident that we would be able to move forward with the hybrid model, nor would it be safe or stable to do so. The last thing we want to do is have students moving in and out of in-person learning because of confirmed or suspected cases of COVID-19 in our schools and community. It would be very disruptive. Keep them home until the vaccine. Until the vaccine. That's what a lot of this is really about, guys. Not to mention everything else that they're getting away with while doing it. Because we're letting them. Because we're not resisting. And we don't want to resist in a violent way because that's what they want. They want to bring martial law in, and they're going to use the November election to do it. Because one way or the other, whether we actually have the election or they hold it off because, well, we don't trust mail-in voting and it's not safe, people can't go to the polls, and it's too chaotic because they just pulled off another psychological operation on the masses and they're in a frenzy. No, we're going to have to wait. Or, oh, guess what? Biden wins. Well, we were telling you that there was going to be voter manipulation, and now all the Republicans and the militias are all pissed off, and they're taking to the streets finally because everybody's had enough. Enough is enough. That's why they're doing what they're doing. They know it's not a good, smart move to destroy and defund police departments, to let these people riot in the streets. They want that to look bad. They know most people that were once Democratic and liberal are switching sides because that's part of the damn plan. And now everybody's going to be like, damn, no, hell no, we don't want Biden in. Do you see what else will come? The nation will be, other than the severely, severely indoctrinated people. And they want to know who those people are. And they're going to find out who those people are because they're going to be the people that are wearing goggles and face masks and masks. Like glass visors. Those will be those people, so they'll know just who they are. And the fusion centers will be taking notes. Families turn to school pods for students, right? Well, if you do go back, you got your school pods. What's a school pod? Houston, some parents say indecision and late planning by their school districts are forcing them to come up with education alternatives, such as pulling their kids out of public schools, creating small teaching pods. Now, guys, it doesn't seem like a really bad idea, but it goes on and on to cut all the bull crap that you have to put your kids through, even in that. Even the solutions are problems. We just need to go back to doing what we were doing. And if they don't take part of it, then we'll do it on our own. But we will not participate any longer, right? Or do, but do not be surprised of where we end up. Please share the video. Thank my subscribers. Thank God for, the people that actually have their heads on their shoulders and that are wide awake to all of this. And there's a lot more people that are finally starting to catch on, even though, it doesn't matter. As long as they are, keep spreading it. Keep getting the truth out there, guys. I love you so much. I hope that everything turns out the best way it can. God bless. Much love. I'm out. Peace.